All right. I'm scared. But what I'll be doing basically is I'll be reading off the script that I wrote and won't be able to look at chat, like, or read chat because I didn't give myself any pause. But yeah, we're going to start the deep dive into the Giddyup Buttercup that took me like 3 weeks to put together, I think. It was a long time. It was a long time. Actually, I might be able to see how long I've been trying to do this since at least the 22nd of February, and it is now the 22nd. No, at least from the 27th of February, and it's now the 22nd of March. So that's a long time that I've been trying to put this together. So maybe even longer. I don't know. We'll see. But where are we? We have the images up. We have the script up, I believe. Okay. It was the ghoul in the kitchen with the sickle. Okay. I can't read chat. I've got to leave it alone. I'll play some detective music to really set the mood, and then I'll start. You excited? Okay. Is that too loud? Okay. I'm nervous. All right. That might be a little too loud for me. Okay. I am here today to ask the question, what is Giddyup Buttercup? So, the Giddyup Buttercup is a toy designed for children. It's a child-sized mechanical rideable horse toy designed by Wilson Atoma Toys in 2042. We see it for the first time in Fallout 3 during loading screens. But for some reason, we don't see it in the game as of yet. Fallout 3 was released on October 28th, 2008, with DLC releases coming out the following year, and in August of 2009 is where we finally get to see the Giddyup Buttercup toy in the DLC Mothership Zeta. So, why Mothership Zeta? Why introduce the physical version of a child's toy in a DLC all about aliens? When the DLC is started, we eventually come across the Giddyup Buttercup inside the mothership itself. It's found in the interior location known as the Research Lab, and the lab is described in the official game guide as such. An initial chamber has a variety of vehicles. Witness the depth of the aliens' malevolent fascination with Giddyup Buttercup as you delve deeper into this laboratory. Row after row of steely-eyed robotic horses stand motionless, ready for the call to strike and overthrow their human riders. They're ready for the call to strike and overthrow their human riders. Also, in the Fallout 3 official game guide of the year edition by Primer Games, is a brief section dedicated to the Giddyup Buttercup called Buttercup Runneth Over, where we are given a quick guide on navigating part of the spaceship and are led to what is called the Buttercup Production Facility. We are then told to prepare for a shocking revelation in which the aliens have taken an unhealthy interest in weaponizing the robot horse. But why? Why would the aliens use, of all things, a child's toy as a potential weapon? They already have access to weapons that no human on Earth could even imagine or create on their own. And what about the malevolent fascination that the aliens have with the toy? Maybe we will be able to glean some more information from what else we find in the DLC. So, let's take a look at what else the aliens have on board their mothership. Or, who else? The aliens have captured people from Earth and kept them as captives on their ship for over hundreds of years. When we wake up on the mothership Zeta, we are met in a cell with another abductee, Soma. As described in the Fallout 3 Official Game Guide of the Year edition, Soma is one of the few Wastelanders unfortunate enough to have stumbled across Recon Craft Theta and been abducted. Prior to this, she was a slaver working in conjunction with Paradise Falls. She has a sweet, calm disposition that is undercut by a sadistic streak that shows through when she's under stress. She's used to being in charge, but is aware that she's out of her depth aboard the alien ship. Aside from providing supporting fire, she can repair any items that may need fixing, unquote. So, the reason she is an abductee is because she stumbled across Recon Craft Theta, and through conversation with her, she tells us she was originally going to scrap the spacecraft for parts and materials. She tells us she was a slaver from Paradise Falls, but her skills lie in tinkering with machines and stripping technology for scrap. And she's more than capable of repairing our items, but for a fee. So, essentially, a woman with no real relation to the Giddyup Buttercup. Or that's what we think. Next, we meet Sally, a young girl that was abducted shortly after the bombs were dropped in 2077, and she might even be from West Virginia, as there is potential evidence in the details of a story of an alien abduction that we find on 2 holotapes in Fallout 76. Who Goes There, Part 1 and 2. But we can only strongly speculate that it may be her, given the timeline of events of her abduction. She's a sweet kid with quite a bit of insight into the workings and goings-on of the mothership itself, as she repeatedly escapes her cell and explores the lower levels of the ship. The most interesting part about Sally, in my case here, is that she is the exact demographic for which the Giddyup Buttercup was marketed toward. And she even has dialogue found in a holotape that the aliens recorded while she was captive. So, let's have a listen to that now.
Hello, Mr. Alien. Yeah, I know. I'll talk into the thing. I don't know why you brought me back here. We've done this a whole bunch of... Hey! Giddyup Buttercup! Wow! I always wanted one of those. Why do you have one? I don't understand. What do you want? It's a toy. A toy! Why are you so excited? You're weird.
After listening to that, this tells me that the aliens were repeatedly performing different experiments on her to get her reaction to certain items. It also says that while she was fully aware and familiar with the Giddyup Buttercup toy itself, her family wasn't wealthy enough or didn't want to buy her the toy, as it was usually for rich kids, which is a detail that is repeated by the next abductee aboard the ship that we meet, Private Elliot Turkorian, where he states, "Hey look, Giddyup Buttercups. All the rich kids had them. Waste of money if you ask me." Let's move on. Elliot Turkorian was a pre-war medical doctor that lived and worked in Washington at a civilian hospital before 2076, when he enlisted to serve in the Army and was eventually trained in the research, use, and development of cryoscience. He was deployed in the 108th Infantry Battalion to Anchorage, Alaska in mid-2076 to serve in the Sino-American War, and was the lowest-ranking former soldier, a buck private, with his role being a medical technician. Now, this is a side note. You might be thinking to yourself, the 108th Infantry Battalion, that sounds familiar. Well, you would be right to think that, as this is the very same battalion that Nate from Fallout 4 was a part of. The only distinction is that Nate was in the 108th 2nd Battalion. So, while Nate and Elliot may have been deployed at the same time in the same region during the Sino-American War, it is highly doubtful that they would have ever met or known each other due to multiple factors such as Elliot being the lowest ranking form of soldier, as well as a medic in the 108th Battalion, and Nate may have been a higher ranking soldier due to his knowledge and ability to use and recognize power armor in the 2nd Battalion, and also coming home as a decorated war hero. Still, it is nice to know that Elliot and Nate served together in the same battalion and that there is a connection there at all. Sadly, things did not end up with medals of valor for Elliot, as he and his team were abducted by the Zetans in the night in the midst of the Battle of Anchorage sometime between mid-2076 and early 2077. He never even got to find out that the Americans won that battle, and all his knowledge and education of medical science and cryonics would be all for nothing. Or would it? Cryonics, or cryoscience, was one of the major interests of the Zetans, it seems, due to the extensive use of cryogenics seen on the mothership itself. So, having a trained human medical doctor with a specialty in researching and developing on cryonics would be nothing but beneficial to the aliens. But could there be another reason for him to be selected? It may be a coincidence that Elliot Turkorian's initials read as E.T., but if we suspend the serendipity of his situation and really choose to connect every dot, every aspect and every choice of his words could prove something deeper is going on beyond mere investment in cryonic science. But before we dive any deeper, I want to move on to our next companion, a man known only as Paulson. Before Paulson was an abductee, he was a rancher from the American frontier. He had a wife and son that were abducted alongside him, but they are presumed dead aboard the ship. Being a rancher from the Wild West, it seems like there's not much that the aliens would really be able to glean from Paulson. He's incredibly hostile to the aliens due to the abduction and assumed death of his family, and even after being held in cryostasis for hundreds of years, his hatred and feelings of vengeance toward them remains the same, making him very difficult to work with in general, as he prefers to go most things alone. His skills as a rancher and the dialogue he has leads one to assume that he has knowledge of working farm animals like horses and cattle, agriculture, and his ability to adapt to the alien technology despite his hatred for the aliens may prove that he is more intelligent than he initially comes across as in conversation, and shows that he may have some value to the aliens. There's not much else to say about Paulson for now. So let's move on to our final companion that we meet aboard the mothership Zeta, Toshiro Kago. The most out-of-place character that we have, and also the oldest living one found on board that we defrost. The Fallout 3 official Game Guide of the Year edition says, one of the 4 entities that you thaw out during the abduction exploration on board Mothership Zeta is a silent and stoic man named Toshiro Kago. His lack of English and your inability to converse in Japanese mean conversation is never more than stilted gestures. Paulson refers to him as the Chinaman, until Sally corrects him. It appears Kago is a samurai warrior and well skilled in sword combat. His armor appears to date from around the Azuchi Momoyama period between 1568 and 1603, suggesting that aliens have visited the Earth throughout history. He is more than capable of slaying aliens if a particular ceremonial blade is presented to him, or he can be slain without your other allies protesting. But is he truly out of place? What could the Zetans possibly have needed from Toshiro all those years ago? He was a warrior, skilled with a blade, but from what I have learned, the era in which Toshiro was abducted from was displaying a change in how battles were being fought, from swords to muskets. In the year 1575 was the Battle of Nagashino. Forces on the side of Oda Nobunaga, a man considered one of the three great unifiers of Japan, fought against and destroyed the Takeda samurai cavalry, a cavalry which famously and traditionally were mounted on horses as a practice known as bajutsu. The samurai fought on horseback, and it was a dominant force in the military until we get to Toshiro's timeline, when the tradition began to die out. Bajutsu's decline, I believe, was a significant enough event in human history for the aliens to recognize that this might be the last chance they have to get a true horseback warrior in their attempt at collecting information on how humans used the creature for transport and war, an almost untainted perspective for their own data collection. And after all this information we have about the captives that we meet aboard the spaceship, I've been led to connect them all together on one point. Despite their obvious and complete disconnection with each other, I'll tell you now. The aliens abducted a samurai, a warrior with knowledge of war horses from an ancient time, skills of riding, and perhaps maintenance of horses. They abduct a rancher that speaks openly about riding horses and would have taken care of and perhaps even trained horses. Capturing a crew of soldiers, a medical doctor, highly educated and familiar with cryogenics, but also physical biology, and would likely have familiarity with horses that existed just before the bombs were dropped, and knows about the Giddyup Buttercup doll itself. A young girl that always wanted a Giddyup Buttercup, but had never seen a horse in real life. Picture perfect, demographically ideal, just like the posters. She would most likely know how to use the mechanical horse and be the most open to playing with it out of anyone on board. And lastly, the prisoner you wake up to, a slaver, as well as someone with the technical know-how to scrap machines for technology and parts. Technology and machines, much like the Giddyup Buttercup. Yes, the connection that ties all of these companions together exists, and it is the Giddyup Buttercup itself. They were all abducted for their unique affiliations to technology and horses. But then, if the aliens are so obsessed with horses, why didn't they just capture horses and keep them aboard the ship instead? Well, before we can answer that, we need to answer the Brahmin question. Why are there Brahmin on Mothership Zeta? I think it almost goes without saying that we all know aliens abduct cows. It's historical. It's a fact. It's also scientifically sound. Historically, aliens have stolen cows, and the theory behind it is that a particular race of aliens are trying to create human-alien hybrids. The human-alien hybrids would be able to live on Earth as humans do, unlike their alien ancestors, but the hybrids would also need to consume the same sort of diet that humans on Earth do. What aliens see of Earth people is that we have many cows. We use their meat, their bones, their milk, their entire bodies, and what comes out of the bodies as well. So naturally, the aliens might think that this would be the best life-sustaining source for them to use. Since cows take up a lot of space, of course, the aliens return what they don't use back to Earth, and sadly, that's where we see a lot of the leftovers left on Earth in the aftermath. So, aliens have accepted that cows are one of the best sources of life-sustaining nutrients and etc., which is why we see the Brahmin being abducted aboard the ship. But then, how did the Brahmin survive the war? Not how. Why? Since the aliens have a vested interest in the survivability of the human race, given their ties to humans, they may have had a hand in the survivability of the cow race too. When we look at how cows have evolved or mutated from the FEV or radiation, depending on where you look, we see them developing two heads, as well as other features. But the heads are part of my main point here. One head has large horns, the other has small horns. This signifies to me that they are both male and female and may reproduce on their own without a mate, making them incredibly resilient to the potential scarcity of their own species in a post-apocalyptic world. Was this an accident? Since the aliens have a great desire for cows, I don't think that this mutation was an accident at all. I think that this was planned. Cows were always meant to roam the earth as long as humans existed there, regardless of the state of the planet, because the aliens made it so. So, where does this bring us in regards to horses? I want to quickly take a look at what we are currently doing on Earth in the modern day with horses. I'm sure we have all heard of sports, in particular, polo. If not, polo is a game where players are mounted on horses and hit a small ball around a field that is heaps bigger than a football and soccer field, as you can see here, really big field. So the horses have plenty of space to run. But the thing about polo is that the horses that each individual player uses actually get swapped out for a different horse between matches, sometimes every couple of minutes. A polo player can have up to 8 horses to change through during one game. This can be incredibly expensive due to the housing, transport, and food costs of each horse. But polo seems to be a wealthy person's game, so they make it work. Such wealthy people play this game that they want to have their own custom equipment. Equipment, meaning horses. They are actually making their own horses. A particular type of horse is bred for polo, as not every horse is the right horse for the game. So, the wealthy individual has begun to clone their most desirable game horse. This is real. This is happening. This is science. It's actually really weird. But this was to explain that all horses are very different. Even in their own special breed, they can have an undesirable temperament or level of innate skill. Even clones. But clones are expensive to make. Clones don't always turn out the way you want to. And furthermore, clones of horses still require food and water and shelter and care and training. But cows? It doesn't matter if a cow is fast or slow, mean or nice, as long as it eats grass and gives milk. My point here is that horses didn't survive the war because the aliens didn't deem them practical enough in the inevitable apocalypse. The Zetans didn't think horses were undesirable. They thought they were unmanageable, an avoidable inefficiency. So then, why were there so many mechanical horses on board the mothership Zeta? We need to have a look at the original creator of the Giddyup Buttercup to answer this question, a Mr. Arlen Glass. Arlen Glass, the man that designed the original Buttercup toy and released it in 2042 as Wilson Automatoy's flagship product. He was a man that worked tirelessly and relentlessly for the bulk of his life, 35 years, designing toys for the children of America, toys that would help the next generations to imagine a better future. It was 2042 when the Giddyup Buttercup hit the market, which resulted in a massive growth for the company's profits and solidified them as the go-to toy company for the next 35 years. The Giddyup Buttercup was a highly successful product line which took Arlen's complete attention to the point of obsession as he was trying to find newer and better ways to market the toy, such as having brand deals to create collectible variants of the Giddyup Buttercup. These variants would have included promotional deals with Hubris Comics, Nuka-Cola, and Voltec, which would have given us a Nuka-Cola coloured Giddyup Buttercup, or even a Silver Shroud Giddyup Buttercup. The possibilities seemed endless at the time, and highly exciting, and Arlen dedicated his life to these possibilities. But with that being said, Arlen sadly had been neglecting other important parts of his life. He was addicted to his job. He seemed to be hell-bent on working hours into the night, day after day, ruining not only his health and mental well-being, but his relationship with his daughter. He was a man possessed. He was trying to provide the children of America with a brighter future by crafting better toys for them, while at the same time neglecting his own child. And he probably thought he had all the time in the world. His daughter, Marlene, was born in 2071, and she loved her parents. As children do, they think that however they are growing up is the normal way people grow up. Her dad was always at work, and this was just how it was. She knew that he was creating toys for everyone, including her, and in her final message to her dad, she still showed the same level of understanding of her position in his life. In Fallout 4, when we help Arlen in his questline, we are sent to retrieve the holotape of Marlene's message to her dad. In typical workaholic style, the holotape is not found in a home. It's found at Wilson Automatoys HQ, in her dad's workplace, inside the development lab terminal. This is important because I'm trying to emphasize something here, but this is what she says in the holotape.
Go ahead.
Hi, Daddy. When are you coming home? You work too much. I want you to read to me again. Mommy says you're helping all the horsies find good homes. Take care of them, okay? I love you. Oh, Buttercup says she loves you too. We miss you. Come home soon.
When you speak to Arlen in Fallout 4, he tells you that he was at work when the bombs were dropped, and that he rushed home to be with his family, only to find that the apartment building was now a crater in the ground. He went into the crater, laid down to sleep and hoped to never wake up. But when he woke up, he was a ghoul. This is all very sad, but I wanted to outline this because this is part of my theory here, that all of this, all of Arlen's life, his work, his obsession, his creations, his ghoulification, it was all planned all along by the aliens. From 2042, Arlen had been influenced, perhaps mind-controlled, by the Zetans to design, craft, market, and mass-produce mechanical horses so that the public, the world, would become used to the idea of using mechanical horses in the future. It was his goal to produce these horses for the future generations to use. He was hell-bent on this being his one and only true purpose for his life. He could not be swayed. His brain was washed with the obsession to create this horse toy. He was obsessed with having this be in the market and be a part of the future. And when the horses would eventually die away in wars and famines and plagues, and when the bombs were inevitably dropped, then humanity would no longer need to worry about keeping horses alive for travel, for war, for anything, because there would be the mechanical replacement, the Giddyup Buttercup. This is only emphasized by the fact that we see a complete discrepancy in the coloring of the Giddyup Buttercup that we see in Mothership Zeta and in Fallout 4. The Earthbound horses, the true creation by Arlen, was the yellow Giddyup Buttercup. And the horse on the spaceship was the white model of the Giddyup Buttercup. Arlen's creation was a true toy, only meant to implant the idea of the mechanical horse in the minds of the future generations that would see the end of the world and the need for them. The model that we see in the spaceship, however, was the true endgame build of the Giddyup Buttercup that the aliens would eventually put on the cleaned and pristine Earth. The white horse, the pale horse, and the name that would sit upon it would be Death. Here we see the testing chamber inside Mothership Zeta. It holds a deactivated Giddyup Buttercup and surrounding it lies deceased human test subjects, and it is not entirely known exactly how they were killed. But when the horse's eyes flash red 4 times, perhaps some kind of EMP, sonic frequency weapon is activated and destroys the, quote, squishier parts of human anatomy. Behold, the true power of the Giddyup Buttercup is revealed. A warhorse, worthy of the surface of a scorched earth. A horse that an ancient warrior could ride. With the temperament programmed from an understanding handler, the familiarity with its importance known by the intellectuals, with a body that was understood and maintained by an engineer, and a mass population that already know exactly how to use it. And at the end of all of that, the creator himself, Arlen Glass, preserved forever in his forced schoolification to always make sure that the Giddyup Buttercup would remain on Earth in one way or another. This was the purpose of everything aboard Mothership Zeta, from its captives to its creations. Mothership Zeta was not just a regular extraterrestrial spaceship. It was a stable for the horses of the future of humanity. One ship amongst an innumerable number of ships. Ships designed to carry the human race into the stars and into the future. At least, that's what the Enclave had planned for humanity, but that's a different story for a different time. Today, we have only uncovered one facet of the vast universe that is Fallout, and that is what is up with Giddyup Buttercup, more than just a random junk item. Thank you for listening. I really hope you enjoyed this deep dive today and that everything made sense. I had a lot of fun writing this and working on this. And it was a lot of effort, so I truly hope you all appreciate it. Thank you very much. The end. Oh. Thank you all for listening. So, did we solve the horse question? Why are there no horses? I guess it kind of goes along with it. Oof, I'm sweating.